How do tour pros shoot under par every single time and make it look effortless? Well, in this video today, I want to talk about a few key areas to the game that can help you go out and shoot the best scores you can possible. Just by controlling a few things in your practice can really help you when you get out on the course. So we're going to start off this video on the course with a 9-hole vlog. We're going to pick up on a few little things that I do out on the course and then talk about it in a practice session after. So let's dive in straight onto the course. And also, cheeky note, if you want some Able clothing at some ridiculous prices, get over there now because it's their birthday sale and it's up to 60% off site-wide. So go check out, go find some bargains, and make sure you use code ODDIE10 at the checkout for a further 10% off your order. Come on. Come here. Hold, hold, hold. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about putting. Now, obviously, I'm a little restricted today in the garden, and we're still going to go through some basic things that we can control and understand about what needs to be good within the putting. Now, for me, there's 3 segments to putting: speed, line, and then starting the ball on line. If you can do them 3 things well, you're going to hole putts, period. So let's first talk about the line, and obviously if there's an area to this video that you want to understand a little deeper, I could probably do a whole video on one part of the practice session. So if that be pitching in a minute, or chipping, putting, driving, let me know in the comments what you are struggling with, and I can make sure to cover that into a deep dive video, and we can proper have a look in depth at how we can practice it better and get these parts of the game sharp. So first off, reading the line. Now for me, I kind of visually go into a putt and I've got a basic understanding of where that ball's going to be breaking, and then to back that up I use my feet, and I use a system called aim point. So that's where you straddle the line and you feel the slope within your feet. Didn't want to go too in depth, and then here I am getting my spirit level out and going in depth. Right, but to make this a little bit more simple, spirit level, this pops up a percent reading, so that is going to be a 2.8% right to left. And then what I would do with that information is I would then stand over the ball, put up my putter against my chest. I have a stimp meter on my putter, so depending on how fast the green is, honestly this part of the game goes so in depth, but you watch guys like Justin Rose, Adam Scott, you know, and you think, how are these guys holding the world? This is because their systems are so ingrained and they understand it on such a deep level. You know, Justin Rose knows exactly how much a 2% putt breaks on a 12.5 stimp green. So, you know, when he gets that, he knows exactly how far to put that hand up at the hole, and then, you know, just at the end of the day, then if you get the speed right and you get the line right, you're going to hole it. So there's a lot that needs to match up within putting, and I think that's why you get some guys that are really streaky with putting, because they may not start it on line, but they might not also get a good read. So all of a sudden then you don't start it on line and you get a bad read, it kind of matches up to the good read, versus you could get a really, really good read but not start it on line with a bad speed and miss the hole by a country mile. So, you know, each segment to putting is very important to understand. But yeah, just to get a basics on the line, it was 2.8%, so I'd round it up to 3, move my hand, and then I would put my hand covering the hole because I'm within 6 foot. And then we can now talk about line and starting the ball on line. So I use, guys, do you mind shutting up? It's about 4,000 seagulls just come out, and I think they're just like, this guy's trying to film. let's just take the piss and just all have a sing off, shall we? Shut up. Right. Okay. So we've got a line, and this is something for me that really helps me start it online, is the line on the ball. If I don't have that, I literally feel yippy when I'm putting, because this gives me a understanding of where I need the ball to start. So when I visually now stand over it, I've got something to line my putter up to. Find that sometimes when I don't have that, I just get so lost in where I actually need to start the ball. Mate, this is actually outrageous. This is outrageous. There's a guy right there. You know what you're doing, mate, don't you? Shh. Shh. Thank you. Right. So now we've got to match that up with speed, and how I would get a good understanding of speed. I've worked on kind of length of stroke, so you know, bringing it back to maybe the edge of your right foot, how far does that go? Bringing it back to the putter grip level with the, you know, I've done everything. I've tried it all. But where do I find my most success? So if you look at feel and have a good understanding of feel, now this is going to be a really, really basic level, right? But I'm going to just drop this ball, throw this ball and land it on this tile, okay? I'm not going to practice, I'm not going to stand here, practice swinging or anything. I'm just going to drop this ball on that tile. Not bad, little short, go again, right in the middle. So I've got a good understanding there of how far to throw this ball. Let's go to the second tile. Bang in the middle. Bang in the middle. No practice swing, no nothing. I just can feel that. Same as putting. I get like a rough guide of, you know, kind of how much speed to hit it from behind the ball. And then I'm in. I really trust my instincts of feel for speed. And that's just how I've done it. I know that some people don't have the best feel, so obviously I'd recommend going into length of stroke work. Take the putter back 10 centimeters, see how far the ball goes. Take it back 20 centimeters, see how far the ball goes, especially if you struggle with speed. But for me, I really, really trust my instincts of how good my feel is. And as you can see, I've thrown 2 balls on that tile, 2 balls on that tile, so I've got the feeling of somewhat how far to just do that, you know. And I trust the same with putting. And once we've got the line, the read, just start it on line with a good speed, and the ball disappears in the hole. So that's just a little segment and a bit of a breakdown on putting. I think that's one that we could go into you could go into a video for 10 hours long and you still wouldn't have putting covered. But yeah, that's a basic understanding of what I do when I putt to maintain a high level. And yeah, control them 3 things. Start it on line, speed, and get a good read. Right, okay. So, chipping. Let's talk about how we can make chipping simple. Now, obviously, I'm within my simulator. This is a little tough and we're a little restricted. Chipping is something we could also film for about an hour, maybe 10, and it still wouldn't be covered. So I look at a lot of what Scott Fawcett says. Scott Fawcett is a guy that designed Decade, and that is a system that basically makes golf simple and how to score your best score every single time. And he talks a lot about a few certain drills, and I love some of the stuff that he says. Now, chipping, to basically understand this and break this down, if we are good with our landing zones and understanding how far this releases out, we can then work out how far we need to carry that onto the green to get that to our perfect destination, the hole, right? So I'm just going to go to the front of the sim. Now we're going to pace out 1, 2, 3, 3.5 yards maybe to the simulator. So, you know, let's just try and land this pretty good, right? So now all of a sudden I've landed that 3 yards. So I'm just going to practice my 3 yard, little long. But, you know, if you get really, really good, there we go, bang on, at landing your chip shots on certain numbers. So what he will then do is, let's go to 5. I don't know how far. 4.3. So You can see the number there is the carry. So I'm just going to work on my 5-yard carry here now. 4.5, not bad. One more. 5.1, bang on. So all of a sudden now, we're ingraining certain chip shots. Now I'm going to go all the way to 10 yards. 9.8, not bad at all. So that's one thing that I would do within the chipping, is just put tees down, and that's what he says. Put tees down at 5, 7, 9, 11, 13 and 15 yards, and literally just stand there. You know, even at 3 yards, I'm just going, you know, a little bit long. But I can start to really gauge that. And then when I get out on course and I've got that, say, 10-yard chip shot from greenside, okay, I know that my 3-yard chip shot is pretty dialed. So I'm going to go ahead, land it on that 3-yard point. All of a sudden, them chip shots from greenside start looking at chances, and you might hole a couple. And realistically, with the wedge, very good point from Scott, is that your short game shots shouldn't be like that 1 in a million to make up and down. That's because of a bad shot into the green. You've made an error by hitting it in that position. So realistically, we're now going to go on to that. We're going to go on to that topic with the iron play, but we'll talk about some pitching shots and how you can ingrain some different distances, and then we're going to talk about iron play. And the short game is going to try and fall into that part as well, because if you're leaving yourself easy chip shots with a bunch of green to work with, realistically, is it that hard to make up and down when you got a 20-yard chip shot, bunch of green to work with? If you've now got a 15-yard chip shot with 2 yards of green to work with, I know which one that you are going to make up and down more. But when you look at the statistics and you go, my scrambling was 25% today, well, have you looked at where you're missing the green? Have you looked at where that pin was back left when you missed it long left and you've got no shot? So all of a sudden you put these mistakes on your wedges when realistically it's actually the unforced error into the green. So yeah, if you get really, really good at the basic chip shots, and then, you know, that 1 in a million, realistically, I love what I love what Scott Fawcett says about just don't make double, right? So you've got that stinky chip shot from back edge of the green and you've got 0, 1 yard to work with even. Just hit your basic flop shot, give yourself 20 foot, and a chance to maybe hole it. But don't try and hit that one where, you're going for the wonder shot and you hit it just in front of you and you've got, a really, really tough chip shot again. Just do not make double. To round that one off and chipping as a whole, get very, very good at the basic chip shot, and then that wonder shot, maybe look at what's caused that problem in the first place. Don't try and hit that 1 in a million flop shot to 2 foot. Might look good that one time you pull it off, but trust me, you're going to make double bogey a bunch more than what you are up and down. Okay, so how to get very good at pitching. Now, pitching for me is going to be an area that I need to be very, very good at if I want to make them scores with a lot of birdies and going super low. So, if you're hitting your driver in play, realistically, then 400-yard holes, maybe in the summer for me in the UK, that driver's running out 320, 330. You've got these 70-yard, 60-yard shots all the time. And if you can understand how far you carry your wedges, I think that's a massive skill. And it's going to help you make a bunch of birdies when you get yourself in position. And notice how all of these parts of the game, they kind of tie in. I would say the only ones that separate for me are putting and driving. Right, pitching. So, how I control my distance is with my lead arm. So, I work on where my lead arm finishes in the backswing. So, for me, my first position with my wedges is going to be my lead arm parallel to the ground, essentially 9 o'clock. So, right here is my first position, and I have that dialed in with all 4 wedges in my bag. Lob wedge, sand wedge, gap wedge, and pitching wedge. And for me, I know that my 9 o'clock 60 degree is about a 60-yard carry. 53. Come off it a little bit. Pretty good. So, you know, also once you have these numbers, you can kind of mess around with the speed. So, you know, I can go 9 o'clock, but a little bit more tempo. Okay, that's my 60 yard, bang on, right there. Pretty good, that one. But, you know, you can play around with the speed. So, let's say you have that 50 yarder. We can just go to that 9 o'clock and just slow it down a hair, you know, and you've hit it 41. So, the speed and understanding your tempo is very, very important also. But once you have your measurements of where that lead arm is finishing, you can start to get a very good understanding of how far you hit your wedges. And I just get very, very good at each segment of this. So, you know, go 9 o'clock and just hit a bunch of balls at 9 o'clock. You know, and work out how far each wedge goes. Give yourself different trajectories. So you're going to have a few crossover points with the wedges as well. For me, 90 yards is one of them. I've got a full lob wedge. Oh, I've not carried it anywhere near enough. I'm not swinging quick enough this morning. So that was an 81 with 11,000 spin. Then I've got a left arm to shoulder. So I actually say left wrist to right shoulder. That's my feel. It's about 10 o'clock. And we're going to go with sand wedge with this swing. It should be about 90 yards. 80 again. We're not quick this morning, but, you know, a little lower flighted. The backspin is less. That's the key as well. The backspin is less. So, depending on where the pin is, obviously if a 90-yard shot pops up and it's a front flag, I'll probably go with the lob wedge and just land it a hair past it, bring it back. If it's kind of a middle flag, I'll hit that kind of mid trajectory. And if there's a back pin that I really don't want to go long at, I've got my gap wedge that we can swing to 9 o'clock. Oh my God, literally I've hit them all 80. Wow. But this one here at 7,500 spin, a completely different trajectory again. So 3 different shots to 1 yardage, just bringing in some different flights, different spin control. And that's understanding it on a deeper level. You do that, you give yourself more shots in the arsenal for when you get out on the course. Trust me, there's not going to be a flag that you can't go at and get aggressive to try and make your birdie. Okay, so let's move on to the iron play. Now, this is going to tie into the short game massively. And I think there's the system Decade that really, really helps you understand where to aim when you're hitting into a green. Now, what this does, it provides a number for a pin, 1, 2, or 3. Now, that's the number of yards you add on to the total Decade point. This is the way I've learnt it. It might be different now, but this is the way that I've learnt it. So, just to try and make this simple, it's very, very in-depth, but just to try and make this simple. Now, this area here might be a 2. So, now, all of a sudden, this pin is a 2. 123 yards. My aim point is roughly around about half of this 10% number. So this is obviously this is probably just word Chinese, and like you guys won't even get this, but in my head I kind of get it, and hopefully it makes sense. So 10% of this is 12, 5% number 6. So I'm now aiming 6 yards away from the edge of the green. Now obviously we can't really do it on here, but you can roughly kind of work it out. So the pin was at 123, this is 118. So now all of a sudden we're actually aiming 1 yard past the flag. Now unfortunately we can't do this right or left, but to roughly work this out, I would say that pin's probably about 4 yards. So now all of a sudden my aim point to this flag is 1 yard long and probably a couple left. Before we factor in what this miss is here. Now I'm going to add 2 for both of them. So I'm going to go 2 longer and 2 to the left. My aim point now to give me the largest area to hit in is probably roughly around about here. So now you can see before we had a 123 shot right at the flag. Now we've got a 127 shot just left of the flag. Now, if I hit this one short and right, it's probably going to be bang on it. if I hit this one short and right, it's game over. So it's about understanding your iron play and just hitting it in areas you don't want to. Obviously, if I hit this shot in this area here, and like we talked about the chipping earlier, I'm way more likely to make up and down from this area than I am in this front right bunker, no room to work with. So for me, iron play is just hitting it in spots that are the most comfortable. So now I'm trying to hit this shot, 127. 122, I've pushed it 2 yards. I mean, this might go in the hole. Look at this. Prime example there. I've actually hit a bad shot and it's ended up 6 foot away. So all of a sudden, if I hit that shot aiming at the flag, it's probably a missed green right. And that's where the aiming with the iron play is crucial into the greens. Okay, a little short, but still, because the aim line is good, it's, you know, fine. So, yeah, very, very important one when you go into your iron play. And this system decade, it's quite in-depth, and I think there's a lot of things in golf that you can go super into. And like I say, if you are struggling with a certain area in your game, please do comment below and let me know. If there's one part of this segment that you want me to cover in a full practice session, we'll go ahead. But this is just basically touching on the basics. And, you know, when I go out and play golf and you watch all these tour pros play golf and they shoot under par, make it look effortless, this is because they've got all these systems in place that almost simplify the game. And if you can make the game as simple as possible, you know, it becomes a lot more enjoyable and a lot easier. Okay, we are now on to the most important club in the bag. Now, this is one that I've struggled with for the last couple of years and definitely something that's held my game back. But I want to dive into this driver this year and really get good with this club. Now, watching a lot of Scott Fawcett and understanding decade is something that's going to really help me with this club. And he talks a lot about hitting this club into a certain area. If you can eliminate one side of the course, this club becomes a lot easier. So what do I mean from that? Right, let's aim one dead straight. And we miss it left. And we miss it right. Now, all of a sudden, when I aim my driver down the middle of the fairway and I've got 20 yards either side, that 20 yards right and left actually becomes a lot harder than if I was to aim down one portion of the fairway and push it or pull it back into. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to aim my line to the left. I'm going to stay aiming straight within the sim. And this is a really good way to practice it. And I'm going to hit this one and make sure it fades left to right. Okay, 35 yards right. But it's straight down the middle of the fairway. Same again, I'm aiming up the left-hand side and I'm going to hit my shot shape. 29 yards right. Straight down the middle of the fairway. Same again, I'm aiming up the left, hit my shot shape. Straight down the middle of the fairway. Now, slice. Maybe, I mean, you could call that a little bit fadey, but, you know, for me, I would obviously want to narrow that margin down and have some control to it, bring it back to kind of like 10-yard fades would probably be like a really comfortable spot for me. But I think just to understand the premise of what I'm trying to put across to you is that if you have a consistent ball flight, all of a sudden hitting the fairway with this club becomes a real skill because you know where this isn't going to go. If you stand on a tee and you've got both right and left miss with this club, it's very, very tough to get some confidence. And this game, obviously, for me personally, if I feel good on the tee box, you know, you're probably going to put a good swing on it. if you feel a bit uncomfortable on a tee shot and you go, you know, is this one to go right or left? The swing you put on this club isn't going to be as committed as to if you were going on the tee box, aiming down the left cut and going, right, I know that this club is not going to go left. So bang, I hit my shot shape. You know, you make more committed swings and ultimately hit better golf shots. But yeah, for me, I think obviously if I can narrow that little fade down to probably like a 10 yard. But yeah, I hope that rounds up this video for you all. There's a few different segments there that might help you shoot your best scores out on the course. And ultimately, that's all we are trying to do, is play the best golf we can possible. So, you know, dissect your practice into them segments, understand the game at a deeper level. And if there is a certain area to the game that you're struggling with and you want to deep dive it, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to get that covered. Oh, and also make sure you're using the best premium Cabretta leather glove without the premium price, gxgolfgloves.com. Use code Josh10 at checkout for 10% off. So that's been a really, really cool one to film. I hope you guys have learned something new there and you can take that out onto the course, get your practice going even deeper, even better on the range. Don't underestimate how much of this you can do at your own skill level. If you're going out there at 18 handicap, but you understand one of these segments in your practice, you might drop 5 shots. So genuinely, I would even put this video aimed at a certainly top level to try and get under par. But, you know, even if you're 18 handicap and you're implementing all of these things, it's only going to help you so much. So appreciate all the support on the channel. It means the absolute world to me. Make sure you like this video as it really helps boost the algorithm. And also hit subscribe if you have enjoyed it and made it to the end. Appreciate all the support and we will see you all for the next one.